Hey guys, it's the Reaper Hunter. So today I got my top 7 Warframes as of right now. And before I even get started, I need to say right now that yes, this is very opinionated, yes, there is some bias, and no, not everyone is going to agree with this. Why? Because everyone has their own playstyle and their own preferences. These are mine. So if you don't like it, or you don't enjoy it, or you don't agree with anything that isn't your own opinion, then please go away. So, with that said, let's get started. So, we got Nova. Nova is an amazing frame. She has amazing CC with her ultimate, and it does a crazy damage multiplier that basically can make a lotto almost endgame. And on top of that, you can mod it to where it can make the enemies both slow and fast. So, for endgame, really endurance runs kind of stuff, you can put her for really high energy strength and the enemies move as though they've been covered in syrup. However, if you're farming, you can make your power strength really low and boom, all the enemies are on fast forward and basically you can get through a defense mission in a few minutes. Biggest downside probably is that her 1 is useless and she's about as durable as a burnt piece of toast. But if you have that CC going, then really nothing should be a problem. Her 2 is an amazing, again, another damage multiplier basically, that once you cast it, you can control it, shoot at it, and you basically have a bomb. And I'm sure I just got demonetized for saying the word bomb. Nova is one of those frames that you can literally take into just about any mission. She's super mobile with her 3. Her 1's kind of pointless, but again, what Warframe doesn't have that 1 ability. So next up we got Octavia. Now Octavia is one of those frames that I personally don't like, but I have to put her on this list because I can't deny that she is really good. Now Octavia basically gives you buffs on top of buffs on top of buffs. On top of that, all that, you can go invisible. You know, all you gotta do is teabag the ground a few times and boom, you're invisible, and it's like having a Loki if you have duration, because it's about maybe 30 seconds I can get out of mine, give or take. And on top of that, you can share it with your teammates. So all you gotta do is pop your song on the ground and everyone just became Loki. Or Ash. Either way, you're invisible. So on top of having crazy buffs, being invisible, she also drops a roller that gets really high damage once it gets shot at enough. So really end level games where you have these enemies that can very much one-shot anything, shooting that ball, it can basically kill an army of bombards in a few seconds. It's amazing. So Octavia, even though she's kind of a pain to get, definitely go farm her when you get the chance because she has tons of fun and super useful in any kind of team, solo or queued. So for number 5 we got Rhino, and he is super boring. Rhino is one of those frames that you pick up and you're not going to have a whole lot of fun with him, but damn if not you're going to get everything done super efficiently. His 1 is basically an impact-based slash dash, not that great. His 2, which is arguably his bread and butter, basically makes him immortal for as long or as strong as your power strength allows him to be. He is literally not just immune to bullets, lasers, anything, he's even immune to poison. How that works, I have no idea. But with Iron Skin active, you literally take no damage from almost anything, and top that off with his 3 that gives you a crazy damage multiplier buff that will give your weapons almost double damage. His ultimate is kind of a discount Vauban Bastille, but it's good and it does decent damage, so it's not terrible. But his 2 and his 3 are definitely his go-to abilities, and again, very boring, but very useful. So he had to be on this list. So next up we have Haro, or Harrow, whoever preference you have. Harrow is a very interesting Warframe because 1, his abilities all rely on the other ability. His 2 relies on his 1, his 3 relies on his 2, his ultimate relies on him in general getting shot. And he's a very complex Warframe that has a very high skill gap, and even though he's a pain to farm, he's also going to be a pain to play, so if you're not very fluent with the game yet, he's going to be a Warframe you might end up hating. But in the right hands, a Haro can easily carry a game. In fact, he's kind of one of those frames that actually suffers if he's in a really good team, because if your teammates are killing all the enemies, your abilities aren't going to be half as useful or efficient. So with Haro, you really need to kind of decide how you're going to play. Are you going to play supportive or offensively? Because offensively, you might want to try to find a room to yourself, because otherwise you're not going to be doing a whole lot besides chaining enemies for your teammates to get all the kills. His ultimate is amazing, red crits for days, enough said. His 2, whip yourself in the back, suddenly everything takes half a second to reload and it heals you. His 3, free energy, enough said. His 1, chain enemies in a straight line for X amount of time, really great. And oh yeah, crazy overshield. So Haro, again, really good frame, just really high skill gap, so take him with a lick of salt. So number 3, we have the poster boy himself, probably for both the game and my channel, is Excalibur. How many of you were expecting him to be number 1? Excalibur is a frame that is basically not perfect, obviously, because he's not on number 1, but he's one of those frames that's basically end game, and you can get him literally the minute you log into the game. That's the biggest reason why he's even on this list, is because he's a literal end game Warframe that is dropped into your pocket just for signing in. Especially after his rework, he can do just about anything in this game. You can build him for mobility, you can build him for CC, you can build him for tankiness, you can build him for just about anything that this game has to offer, and it's amazing. And it's literally in his description to where he's made to where you can build him and mod him in any way to suit your playstyle better. So with Excalibur, his main shtick is variety and slicing stuff in half. So with number 2, we have Oberon. Now, Oberon is one of those frames that I got a long time ago when he first came out, and he wasn't really that fond to me. I played him a lot because that ultimate was really fun and addicting to use, but that's all he had going for him. But after his rework, his abilities are all super good, especially because of his 2, because they basically give all of his abilities another quirk. So, with the 2 active in mind, his 1 will make a giant radiation proc that can literally shred a level 150 bombard. His 3 will basically make you immortal as long as you have energy. It's a crazy heal rate, especially if you have power strength. And boom, with his 2 active, now you have freaking almost 400, 300, 500 armor bonus. And his ultimate, you smack enemies into the ground, health orbs appear, and if they survived, well boom, now they have no armor. So, modded correctly, Oberon is a frame that can't die, does damage, does armor shred, and basically gives the whole spiel of what the current meta is. Oberon is just one of those frames that's just good to have around. Even if he's not trying to help you, he's good to have around because he's unintentionally helping you. So for number 1, we got Nidus. Now, what do you get when you have a Warframe that's been nerfed 3 times and you still see him around and you still see him in things like sorties and raid missions? Yeah, Nidus. His 1 does so much damage. His 2 is like Vauban's ult, except better. His 3 gives all your damage that you're being given to the enemies back, or you can give it to a teammate and give them some kind of perk. I don't know, I don't use it for teammates. His 4 is a healing aura that makes all of his other abilities even more better. I mean, with Nidus, they just decided, you know what, let's give the guys a frame that just works. What's his passive? Well, if you have enough stacks, you can't die. It's not like a Naros to where you get put in a coffin and you have to hope an enemy walks by you. No, if you run out of health as Nidus, he just doesn't care. He loses some stacks, but if you have maxed out stacks, I think you can afford to die about 6.5 times, something like that. So, DE, they really gave a really overpowered Warframe to us. You literally pop your 2, it sucks everything in from a quarter mile away into a tiny ball, you press your 1, and they just watch them fly into the air. If you have another enemy that has the umbilical cord, I guess you can call it, into them, you shoot 2 different ones in the whatever direction you're facing. So that's literally double the damage. So with how much crazy damage your 1 already does, do that times 2. And boom, you got Nidus. So that's my top 7 Warframes, and again, I really want to stress that this is all my biased opinion. If you don't agree with it, then that's all you. If you love it, then great. But if you have some kind of quarrel with this list, and again, I'm just really stressing, this is my opinion. I'm not forcing you to play only these four or six Warframes. I'm not saying that whatever Warframe you find favorite is worse than them. I'm just saying I like these frames, they're really good, and that's me. So, with that said, guys, as always, if you can comment, like, subscribe, all that junk, then great. I'll catch you all later. I'm the Rebrounder.